What's up, Vetters? Patrick here with Vetted. Today we're talking about this.
I just came from across the way with Jacques, and he said over there that they have these beings and they're trying to communicate with them and build a language. I just heard him say that. So, like, whose planet is this going to be, or who did it intend it's going to be for?
I'm not going to lie to you and say that I know the answer to that, but the answer that I can give you is that it's clear that we are sharing this planet.
I mean, what are these beings? Why do they look like us? Are there other beings involved? And I talk in the book about some of the things I've been exposed to that are unclassified, that I can talk about to some extent of communication with actual beings in labs on this planet that people are interacting with to try to develop higher level languages to prepare for the communication. That's a different order of creatures that we haven't really seen before or been aware of before. Those things are going on. There is obviously a huge cultural impact coming.
Hi, Vetters, please hit that like button. That really helps out the videos. And of course, if you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Today's video is about UFO historian and researcher Jacques Vallee. He recently made some comments at Contact in the Desert, which is a UFO conference that takes place every year in Palm Springs. And those comments have since made some waves to some extent, but it's still not really being talked about until this video, which I would imagine it's going to be talked about more. Let's jump in, because as you saw from the introduction there, this is kind of crazy if it's true. Now, before we get into Jacques' comments, I want to give you a little backstory on him, just in case you're unfamiliar with who he is. Mac, ¿sabes quién es Jacques Vallee? Mac, you know who Jacques Vallee is? ¿Qué pasó? Huh? ¿Qué pasó? Dime. Never wants to speak on camera. I get it. I'm the weirdo. Jacques Vallee is a French-born computer scientist, astronomer, venture capitalist, author, and one of the most respected scientific investigators of UFOs and unidentified aerial phenomena.
One of the most important findings that has been made about this phenomenon is that it is global in scope. In other words, it doesn't belong to the French or the Americans or the British. There have been waves of sightings.
Born in Pontoise, France on September 24, 1939, he earned degrees in mathematics, astrophysics, and a PhD in computer science from Northwestern University. As a young astronomer at the Paris Observatory, he helped create NASA's first computerized map of Mars. He later moved to the US, where he worked on ARPANET, the precursor to the modern internet, at Stanford Research Institute, developed early online conferencing systems, and became a successful Silicon Valley venture capitalist who funded multiple tech IPOs. Vallee is best known for revolutionizing UFO research. He began as a defender of the extraterrestrial hypothesis, but later proposed the interdimensional hypothesis.
Your perspective on the UFO issue seems rather unique in the sense that you don't seem to be jumping on the extraterrestrial visitors bandwagon.
Arguing that UFO encounters share striking patterns with historical folklore and psychic phenomena.
But there are really, around the technology, there are a number of psychological, and if you will, even, let's use the word psychic effects associated with it.
His groundbreaking 1969 book, Passport to Magonia, made that case and remains influential today.
And what is typical about these waves is that the people from all these different cultures around the world are describing the same thing in their own terms. What they are describing is an object that seems to be able to maneuver, seems to be a technology, seems to come to the ground and leave traces.
He collaborated with astronomer J. Allen Hynek.
You've been looking at this phenomenon for a long time. You've worked closely with Dr. Allen Hynek and other UFO researchers. You've written many authoritative books.
And even inspired the French scientist character in Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
That you were the person that Steven Spielberg modeled a character of a UFO researcher on in his classic movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
I think he was intrigued with the idea of a French scientist running around the United States investigating the UFO phenomena.
Now in his mid-80s and splitting time between San Francisco and Paris, Vallee continues to bring rigorous scientific scrutiny to the unexplained, challenging us to rethink what's really happening in our skies. So now that we've learned a little bit about who Jacques Vallee is, let's hear the comments that he made at Contact in the Desert.
We have to approach the UFO UAP question in the same way, in developing structures that can do that. Now, what we've been talking about, the elements of physics and so on, that's only one. There are many other parallel things that need to be done in the natural sciences. I mean, what are these beings? Why do they look like us? Are there other beings involved? And I talk in the book about some of the things I've been exposed to that are unclassified, that I can talk about to some extent, of communication with actual beings in labs on this planet that people are interacting with, to try to develop higher level languages to prepare for the communication. Well, that's a different order of creatures that we haven't really seen before or been aware of before. Those things are going on. There is obviously a huge cultural impact coming.
All right, so he's basically saying that he was told things that are unclassified, right? And this is one of the things. And it's kind of interesting, right? I mean, on its face, you're like, wait, we're developing in a lab with scientists and beings a way to communicate with them, a language, as he puts it, right? I mean, so many questions, right? When you hear something like that, and there's no follow-up questions or anything to this. So there's really no, extrapolation on what exactly this entirely means. And I have to be honest. I mean, at first, when you hear it, you're just like, oh my God. But then when you take a step back and try to understand exactly what he's saying, by being, does he mean extraterrestrials or interdimensionals, is he saying, right? Anything that's not human. I mean, a being could be human, a human being, right? We just don't know. Is it AI that we're trying to talk to? Again, how would that be unclassified? That just seems so strange to me that would be unclassified, right? I don't know. I'm trying to wrap my brain around what exactly does this mean? Are we developing an alien language with the help of an alien? I just don't even know how that whole process begins. I mean, I guess we did the same thing fictionally in the movie Arrival. That's kind of the whole point of that movie, right? Of developing this language. I mean, there's a bigger point, but that's definitely a big part of the movie. So I don't know. It's strange. Again, we don't really have much time left with Jacques Vallee on this planet, and it would be nice to get some of these details. So hopefully he can expand upon them later on. Now, stay with me because he may have said something similar in the past, but we'll get to that in a moment. First, let's take a look at a response from Matthew Brown, who is a UFO whistleblower who brought out the Immaculate Constellation program, documents, however you want to put it. He was also at Contact in the Desert on a panel with Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp, and Dylan Borland, another UFO whistleblower, and oh gosh, I'm forgetting his name, Alejandro Wiggins. And they basically do a Q&A afterwards, and a guy who was at the Jacques Vallee panel who heard Jacques say this about the alien language asked Matthew Brown, what do you think of this?
That question is for Matthew. And your last episode with the guys, you said you're not sure if this planet is our home anymore.
Can you say it louder because I can't hear very
On the last episode with Matthew, he said that he's not sure that this planet is our home anymore. I just came from across the way with Jacques, and he said over there that they have these beings and they're trying to communicate with them and build a language. I just heard him say that. So, like, whose planet is this going to be, or who did they intend it's going to be for?
I'm not going to lie to you and say that I know the answer to that, but the answer that I can give you is that it's clear that we are sharing this planet.
And the comments that the gentleman who asked the question is referring to when he says, previously, Matthew, you said, Earth is not ours, or whatever, however he worded it. This is from actually an older episode that Matthew Brown did with Jeremy Corbell not too long ago as a follow-up to Matthew Brown's initial Bombshell, coming out party that he had last year. And this is the clip from that particular episode of the comment that the questioner was asking. God, that was such a ramble. Is questioner even a word?
Are you doing this for personal gain? Tell me.
No,
Why?
because this is our home, and if we do not defend it, who will?
We live here.
Exactly.
Planet Earth or America?
America.
I
I'm not sure Earth is our home anymore.
So remember when I just said that potentially Jacques had mentioned something about this alien language or something similar in the past? Something about it was sticking with me, and just like, I think I've heard something like this from Jacques before. And I'm going to play a clip for you from a previous vetted video back in December during Christmas that I made about some comments that Jacques made coincidentally on the Weaponized podcast as well with Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp. And take a listen and see if you think this is the same thing that he's talking about. What's up, betters? Merry Christmas, y'all. Today, we're talking about this.
What they described to me is a very sophisticated process by which we may be able to interact with the entities.
So you're saying you've been made aware that there is a government project, maybe it was 20 years ago, that was able to establish direct communication with a non-human intelligence, and that you believe this information to be true, and that this is a reality. This is what you understand to be true. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
In my opinion, it's the same thing. And look, I'm going to put a link in the description to that video so you can go watch the rest of Jacques' comments and see what you think, right? And again, it would be nice to just get more information on this. Now, since we're here and I've brought up Weaponized and Matthew Brown as well, and Dylan Borland and Alejandro Wiggins, I want to play a clip for you because as I was listening to this panel discussion of Weaponized at Contact in the Desert, finding this clip about, the guy in the audience asking the question to Matthew Brown that connects to this Jacques Vallee comment, I also heard something else that caught my ear. Let me play it for you.
Dylan, how did it go at Home Depot when you submitted your resume working for national security? Yeah, or the banker.
I've talked about this before. We joked up in Oregon about me going to be a park ranger. I would actually love it. But, my resume is a bit insane for most people. I reported directly to the director of the CIA, the president of the United States, and director of national intelligence. So when you see that on a resume and you understand what it says, and
you sound like management material to me.
Oh, I appreciate it, George. you're applying to load lumber. I got my master's degree. It's one of two things: either you're crazy or you will leave the first second you get. So not too many people want to hire you.
Now, this is Dylan Borland talking about, trying to get a job at Home Depot or whatever. And that Home Depot comment caught my ear. Now, I made some comments about Matthew Brown on that same episode where he talked about, I don't think Earth is our home anymore. That maybe Matthew, Dylan, some of these whistleblowers took the wrong way. And let me play it for you and I'll explain. Again, I have complete compassion for Matthew Brown losing his job and finding it tough to take care of his family. I mean, to be honest, if I were him, I'd just go get a regular job. I'm not trying to tell him what to do, but if you're only making less than $1,000 a month, he runs a Substack and I think he sells some merch online. I mean, go get a job. I've been in that position where I've had to just pick up and go get a job. Nothing's above me. I would go work at McDonald's, Home Depot, anything. I've had to do all kinds of things to make money. So maybe it's a mix of that. Like, go get a job, at least bring in some money, because you can make more just working at Home Depot and then do the whistleblower stuff also. I don't know. But again, it's a tough position. I don't know his family life. I don't know what's going on. Maybe he's not able to do that. So again, you kind of get caught in this purpose you think you have and real life, trying to take care of your family. And everybody makes that decision individually. So I was talking about Matthew Brown in that clip. And of course, Dylan's the one that says the Home Depot comment, but I genuinely think they were all, taking that to heart. And I know that my show is seen by those guys for sure. Definitely Jeremy. And, that information could have been passed on, but I felt like it was kind of a slight towards me in particular. That could be just my ego thinking, oh, they're talking about me. I mean, that video did very well. And I know my show, again, is watched by them and lots of people, right? So I don't know, but it got me thinking about those comments. Was I being, uncompassionate, right, in that moment? And let me know what you think. All I was saying, because Matthew in that episode basically explains like he's hurting for money, right? And I'm just like, all right, well, go get a job, and they may have taken offense to that, and I get it, right? It's like I said in my video. It's up to each person to decide how to take care of their family. I'm not trying to tell them what to do. I was just offering advice and something I had done. But I really hope they didn't take that the wrong way. And maybe they did. And to some extent, I can understand why. Because the way Dylan explains it, right? Like, how am I supposed to go get a job at Home Depot when my resume is XYZ? They're basically just going to think I'm crazy, or I'll leave it, at any second. But in my experience, that's not the case. I worked in the food industry for a long time, and you had all kinds of people coming in to bartend and wait tables who had crazy backstories and crazy resumes, right? I'm talking just stuff you wouldn't believe. You're like, damn, why are you working here? But you still get hired, right? So the idea that you can't go get a job at these places because of your resume, that's just honestly not true. Right. And there are many jobs to get outside of the government with that resume. So I don't know. My point still stands. I'm not trying to be, uncompassionate. Is that even a word? I keep saying words today that may not be words at all. I need to stop speaking. But I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. And maybe they weren't aiming that at me. But I just want to make sure I didn't mean it in a mean way. I just meant it in a real way. I think most of us watching this video have been put in a position at some point where you just gotta, pick yourself up and go take care of business, no matter what that is, right? Put your ego aside, put your pride aside, and do what needs to be done. And honestly, you don't know about something till you try it. So has Dylan gone to Home Depot and tried to get a job and that's what he was told? Because you can't just think that without going to test that. And the idea that he can't be hauling lumber because he's some UFO whistleblower, again, that's just pride. That's just ego. I mean, just being honest, at least that's how I was raised by my father. You know, he's from Missouri, grew up on a farm. My grandfather fought in World War II. This is a very much sort of pick yourself up by the bootstraps and get things done, no matter how you need to get things done. You know, a little backstory. My father, when I was about to graduate high school, my father never got a chance to finish college, but he had gone for a little bit, right, before I was born. And while my father was working a full-time job, he decided to go get his degree, right, from college, full-time going to school to get a college degree, full-time working a job. And on top of that, to pay for college, so he didn't have to take out any loans, he got a second job. My father was working 2 jobs and going to school full-time, never complained once, probably got 3-4 hours of sleep a night. And he took care of business. That's just what I was surrounded by. I'm not saying everyone needs to be like that or everyone is like that. And to be honest, I don't think I could do that either, what my father did. He was just a different type of a person and a different generation. But nonetheless, my whole point of bringing it up is just, I don't want people to think I'm not showing any compassion towards these whistleblowers and their situations. I absolutely have compassion for people who may be put in a position, that isn't easy. I get it, right? I'm just throwing out my opinion. And that's really all it is, my opinion. Now, the clip that I used of Jacques Vallee at Contact in the Desert, I got from the Contact in the Desert website, which they have sort of a replay purchasing area where you can go basically get all the presentations that were at Contact in the Desert if you weren't actually able to make it there in person. Now, again, this is a paid service, but I contacted Contact in the Desert and they allowed me to use that clip. And they also gave me a 10% discount code to give to y'all if you want to go check out any of these presentations. There are so many from so many different people. So the code is vetted10. I'll put it on the screen and I'll also put a link down below in the description so you can go check out these presentations and, see them if you would like. So anyway, let me know what you think about Jacques Vallee's comments, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Remember, Psionics, Vetted's very first feature documentary, is available now exclusively at psionics.film. Link in the description and the top pinned comment. Thank you to everyone who has been supporting the film. We're doing great, y'all. So thank y'all so much, and all the great reviews. People have really loved the film, and it's been amazing. So anyway, thank y'all so much. We'll see you guys on the next one. Remember, every day's a gift, y'all. Peace.